Chapter 3, Sweet's Journey. I never really cared for Callie, thought Sweet, gazing back numbly at the swift dog's motionless body, but I never wanted this to happen. She sat back on her haunches, gathering her thoughts, not wanting to abandon her former beta quite yet. It's the big growl, she realized, with a chill of dread. Everything has changed because of it. We don't know who our friends and our enemies are. We don't even know if the spirit dogs are on our side. It had been bad enough imagining her pack dying in the carnage and chaos of the trap house. Actually watching Callie die had twisted Sweet's insides with horror. Now she felt more alone than ever. Is this what happened to them all? Every single one of my packmates. Have they gone to the Earth Dog the way Callie just did? Oh, I miss Lucky even more. But there was no way of getting back to him, she realized. She'd probably lost the city dog's scent and his company forever. What was more, the bridge was gone, and the river dog wouldn't let her cross back. If the river dog even cared anymore what happened to her. River dog was probably concerned only with her own terrible sickness. We're all on our own from now on, but if the spirit dogs can't or won't help us, that makes it all the more vital to find a pack. With one last sad look at Callie's remains, Sweet turned and plodded away, following the same stars as before. There was no point going back, she could only press on. The stars seemed so much further away now though, and the night felt colder. Sweet did her best not to run, knowing she should save her energy. Short, sharp bursts of speed would do her no good here. How far she would have to travel, no dog knew, but still her muscles and paw pads ached by the time the sundong rose behind her. By his low golden light, she could clearly see more of those cruel gashes in the earth as she travelled on. They were worse even than the wound in Callie's flank, the wound she died of. Was Earth Dog dying too? Sweet wondered. How can she possibly survive this? A black misery settled over her, but it lifted just a little when she crested the rise of a grassy knoll and saw a line of distant lilac hills. If she could reach that high ground, she might be able to spot her old pack's territory. Though I doubt I'll find any of my old friends. Sweet heaved a sigh of grief, and then shook herself. Callie and I survived the trap house. Maybe some of the others did. Even one? As she forced her aching legs to move, every step jolting her slender joints, she began to catch dog scents again, and her ears pricked with hope. At the same time, her skin tingled, alert to the chance of danger. The scents grew thicker and more numerous the further she walked, and there was none she recognized. Every tree and every rock was thick with dog markers, filling her nostrils with overpowering messages, and Sweet knew this must be the territory of a pack. I will have to be submissive to get through this territory in search of my friends. Nerves jangled beneath her fur. Be careful, Sweet. Be wise. And be humble. Taking a deep breath, she paused, then headed for the dark line that marked the beginning of a forest. She didn't want to be caught unawares. Sweet placed each delicate paw with care, her ears alert for the slightest noise, the tiniest movement in the shadows. Her caution was unnecessary. With a crashing of undergrowth, a muscular red dog bounded out of the trees and stood full square, growling and glaring at Sweet. Stop right there, intruder! No dog trespasses on our land! Sweet swallowed hard, lowering her forequarters and wagging her tail. I'm sorry, I don't mean to trespass. The red dog's lip curled. Then what are you doing here? Sweet let her tongue loll, trying to look as friendly as she could. I'm looking for my own pack, that's all. Have you seen any other dogs like me? The red dog gave a bark of laughter. Her eyes were narrow and contemptuous. Like you? There are no dogs like you on this territory. They wouldn't survive. She paced forward, circling Sweet and sniffing at her disdainfully. You're skinny. You're weak. Any dogs like you will have taken a very wide path around, because our pack doesn't tolerate weaklings. Are you prepared to fight your way through us? Sweet turned her head to watch the red dog. She was frightened, but she didn't want to make any sudden moves. All I want is to pass through here. I'll keep moving, I promise. And I wouldn't dream of hunting on your territory. The red dog laughed again, as if we'd let you. It seemed so horribly unfair and unreasonable, after all she'd been through. Sweet clenched her jaws to stop herself growling. As the red dog walked around to face her directly once more, Sweet slowly stood upright, meeting her gaze defiantly. An expression of surprise crossed the red dog's face, but then her muzzle curled. She ground her forepaws into the earth, her shoulder muscles bunching for an attack. But at that moment, a pale shape appeared in the trees behind her. Sweet took a single step back, startled but curious. Her nose twitched at the new dog's strange scent. As he came forward, the red dog's attitude seemed to change instantly. Her head dipped slightly in submission, her hackles lowered, and the aggression melted away as she stepped aside. He must be her alpha, she thought Sweet. He has all the power here. It's as clear as the scent markings on the boundary trees. He was a massive creature, as close to a wolf as Sweet had ever seen. His shaggy fur was rippling shades of black, grey, and white, and his eyes glowed yellow and fierce, but without the snarling aggression of the red dog. Behind him came an even bigger dog, burly and blunt-faced, with a much smaller and white tan male, and a much smaller white and tan female, with a mean expression. Who's this Beta, and what is her business in my territory? The half-wolf's rumbling voice seemed to silence every sound in the forest. Sweet ducked her head quickly and respectfully, opening her jaws to respond, but the red dog got there before her. She's begging for passage through the woods. Can't survive without her friends, she sneered. Though I doubt they've survived anyway. We should get rid of her, drive her back to where she came from. It'll be kinder in the long run, Alpha. Sweet gathered her dignity and stood straighter, ignoring the red dog to address the half-wolf directly. I don't mean to cause trouble, she told him, quietly but firmly. And I won't. If you're willing to let me pass through your territory, I won't hunt. You can send a dog with me as an escort to make sure. The half-wolf said nothing for long moments. He just examined her with that piercing yellow gaze. Sweet couldn't suppress the tremor that went through her muscles, but she managed not to let it show. The whole forest seemed to hold its breath until at last the wolf gave an upward jerk of his head. Very well. There was a look in his eyes she couldn't quite read. Fiery here. We'll escort you through the far edge of our territory. But don't get your hopes up. There have been no other swift dogs in the forest that I've seen, and I see everything. Which doesn't mean, snarled the red dog, in obvious annoyance at the alpha's concession, that you can come crawling back to us when you fail. We've enough mouths to feed without a useless creature like you. Sweet expected the alpha to confirm his beta's sentiments, but to her surprise, he said nothing. He swung his great head to stare at the red dog. After only moments, the beta averted her eyes and licked her jaws, scowling. I won't be back, Sweet said proudly. I won't be a burden to any pack, believe me. I'm looking for dogs like me, a pack that's welcoming. A hint of amusement crossed the alpha's stern face, and his muzzle wrinkled. He knew full well, thought Sweet, that her remarks were aimed at his beta. The red dog was silent, but her hackles bristled. With a last nod to the alpha, Sweet followed the burly dog, Fiery, as he led her into the forest, following clear dog trails that hinted at a well-established, well-organized pack. Fiery's sheer size was intimidating, but Sweet found she wasn't scared of him. He murmured an occasional word to guide or reassure her, but on the whole was amiably silent for the whole long trek, till Sweet saw a stretch of water glint between pine trunks. Fiery led her to its edge, then jerked his head toward it. Here, he said gruffly. We're nearly at the edge of our lands, and you'd better have a drink to keep you going. It'll be a long walk before you find any other dogs. Thanks, she told him, dipping her muzzle to drink. The water was cold and clear and pure, and it tasted of the earth and the forest. Sweet shivered as she remembered the sick river she'd had to cross, and she closed her eyes briefly to thank the river dog for bringing her to better water. She drank for a long time, reminded suddenly of how thirsty she was. I wish you good luck, growled Fiery, gazing across the distant forest beyond the lake. I hope you do find a few of your pack. It's been a bad time for all dogs. Thank you, said Sweet. She licked her chops and patted carefully into the water, cooling her paws. I have to hope some of them survived. The big dog nodded slowly. Our pack lost a few dogs in the big rout too. I'm sorry we couldn't be more welcoming, but every dog's afraid. Who knows if the bad times are over? Sweet turned her head to watch his eyes, and when she saw the fear in them, her own anxiety sparked into new life. If a dog so powerful could still fear the big growl's return, what hope was there for a fragile, swift dog? She shivered. I hope the bad days are over, she told him softly. But I don't think any dog can trust that they are.